up, fam? Welcome to the Living For You YouTube channel. I am your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite nephew, your favorite son, your favorite father, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and once again, welcome to the Living For You YouTube channel. This is a place where you can come and we can relax and we can chill and we can have a discussion about something important or about something fun that's entertaining, and we can just bring it all together, and this could just be a safe space for anybody who wants to come to a safe space for just a short while. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you once again to my loyal subscribers. You are here once again, as you are always here, and I love you for that. You are family. Subscribers sound so distant. You are actually closer than that. You are family. And to those of you who are new, I am Dr. Larry Smith. I am a certified professional life and spiritual coach. I own a business called Live For You Coaching. And Live For You Coaching is a business that I own where I help people process their stuff as a life coach would. My specialization, for those of you, if you ask, because we all have a niche, my niche is African American males between the ages of 18 and 40 who have dealt with some kind of trauma or who are dealing with some kind of trauma. And my goal, my hope, and the work we do together is to get them beyond that trauma so that they can live present today and can enjoy a wonderful, transformative future in the past. So that's what I do. Dr. Larry, life coach, yada, yada, yada. You can get more information about that at www.liveforyoucoaching.com. You can learn more about me. You can look at some of the services and things that we offer. And if you just want to follow me on social media, because I post things like this, like on YouTube, but I also post little tidbits on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter, you can actually go to Live For You Coaching. Well, sorry, not liveforyoucoaching.com. That's the website. You can actually go to Dr. Larry at Instagram or Dr. Larry Smith on Facebook. And now I'm getting my Twitter together. So if you want to follow me at Dr. Larry Smith, you can also follow me on Twitter as well. So I'm on social media. Just find me. If you Google Dr. Larry Smith, PhD, guess what? My face pops up, which is good, I guess, in the search engine. So just keep looking, keep learning, keep coming. We're going to do what we do here because, like I said, this is a great place for us to talk about life coaching, but to also gather ourselves and entertain ourselves and all types of things like that. So anyway, this particular video, I decided I wanted to start a video series to add to the videos that I do on YouTube during the week, because I am a fan of Iyanla Fix My Life. I am a fan, really, of Iyanla Vanzant. She's a great inspiration to me. I've read her books, In the Meantime, and the Pieces book, and the one she wrote about black men, different quotes and whatnot. I've read several of her books, and I continually read them because they're very helpful. And I've even used them as inspiration for some of the things I do within my practice. Very little, but I use them nonetheless. And so, Iyanla's Miss Iyanla, Auntie Iyanla, is very much an inspiration for me as a life coach. Not the influence as to why I became a life coach. That was other things, my own personal life, my own experiences, meeting other people, going and growing through things myself. But she is definitely an inspiring life coach. And her means and methods sometimes for some might be a little unconventional, but for me they're spot on. Because as a life coach, you know the energy that you project. Yes, you're presenting a solid energy and a steady, calming energy, but you're also having sometimes to match and mirror what you're being given from your clients. And so sometimes it seems unconventional, but if you're in the moment and if you're in the circumstance, and by the way, this is a TV show, you actually see her sometimes use unconventional means. But I dig it all. Anyway, her show, Iyanla Fix My Life, is in its 10th season. And according to her, it is her last season. So I decided that I just wanted to just kind of do a little video recap of the episodes and kind of give it from a life coach's perspective. Because a lot of times I watch a lot of recaps about this show and other shows, and it's not necessarily from the perspective of somebody in the profession. I am actually a certified professional life and spiritual coach. And so I look at it a little bit differently. And then of course there's also a side of me that is learning, you know what I'm saying, learning from it for business and for professional reasons, but also looking and learning from it from my own personal reasons as well. So it's a very interesting experience that I have as a life coach who is growing just like everybody else, watching Iyanla Fix My Life. So Iyanla Fix My Life season 10 episode 1 premiered, and she had on it Shay Buckey from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta and Miami, and she was also on Flavor of Love, I think. Shay Buckey Johnson, who is known for her personality. She is a bigger, larger-than-life personality, but also she's known for her popping off. You guys know what I mean. If you can recall episodes of Shay in Love and Hip Hop, or episodes of Shay on Flavor of Love, you do recall that she is a fireball. She is very much a fireball of a personality, but many times when we see people like that, it really is a defense mechanism over something else that you're not seeing, that's internal, that is a past upbringing or experiences that they've been through, that they're projecting certain things out of it. And Shay definitely has that. But we don't, because of the entertainment value and because of the drama that we get caught up in some of those reality shows, we don't ever get a chance to really know those people internally. And it's actually a very interesting thing to be able to learn that. So Shay was on there with her brothers, her 2 brothers, and her mother. And the goal was to work on the family, right? There's a family dynamic there that is really common in a lot of families, my own included. And we'll touch on that as I go along in my review of it. But there is definitely a family dynamic that needs to be addressed. And so the family came, her brothers and her mother came, in order to deal with that situation. Now, it is very interesting that Iyanla had the distorted mirror at the beginning, because a lot of times our perception of who we are isn't the perception that we have in front of us. It really isn't the perception that other people see of us. And one of the things that you guys know on my channel, I tend to talk about self-evaluation quite a bit, because that's the most important work we can do, is to evaluate and to work on ourselves. So anyway, Shay's mother, I want to say Miss Lisa. I didn't write the name down, and I have my notes. So if you see me look down, I'm going back to my notes to make sure I cut the points I want to hit on. But Shay's mother looks into the mirror and she sees herself as a strong, powerful black woman in the distorted mirror, and that is evidence that she didn't see what was before her. She actually saw what she wanted to see and interpreted what she wanted to see into the mirror. And oddly enough, Shay did the exact same thing when she looked in the mirror, with a little bit more bells and whistles tied to it, but the exact same, not seeing what's in front of them, was a habit that Shay and her mother both share. And they were actually very similar. The interesting thing is that happens a lot of times, in my own family included. My sister and my mom have had this kind of weird relationship for many years before my mom passed, and it just kind of was, and I would say probably since my sister was about 8, 9, maybe a little later, and it's kind of been this contentious back and forth relationship between her and my mom kind of had a similar relationship with my sister that Shay's mom had with Shay, and vice versa. And so what I noticed a long time ago, me and my siblings, my brothers noticed, and other people noticed, is that my mom and my sister were very similar in many ways, responded to things in a very similar way in many ways. Kind of like my sister was my mom's mini-me, and they didn't even realize that. And when you would say that, they actually would kind of get upset. So anyway, back to the episode. So Shay's mother actually saw something different than really was there. But she had a really interesting perception of her daughter, right? And it was completely different than the perception she had of her sons. She didn't believe her sons had any issues with her. They did. She didn't believe her sons were bad. She saw her sons more positively. She saw her sons more accomplished in many ways. And she saw Shay as everything opposite. In fact, she referred to her daughter as a horrible demon. Disrespectful, horrible demon. Right. I know. Right. And so that's deep, because she saw her daughter as the personification of evil. And she tried to deny that she said it. She said, no, I wouldn't say anything like that about my child, because that's usually how it goes. There is an out of touch with reality, and most of us don't like to know our bad stuff or acknowledge our bad stuff. And she tried to deny it. And Miss Iyanla was like, yeah, you did say that. And she was like, no, I didn't. They had to go back and get the tape and roll the tape back. And even with the tape being rolled back, this is how out of touch with reality this woman is. Even when they rolled the tape back, she kind of was like, no, y'all distorted that. Y'all mixed that up. Y'all edited that. That's not how I said it. And Iyanla had to break it down. Those are your words. All of those things came out of your mouth. And so she just had to kind of embrace that and accept that it was what it was. But what I learned, and what that kind of reminded me of, is dealing with certain people in my life and that I've dealt with over the years of my life who are just that difficult to deal with. And what I learned, and what you guys probably know from your own personal experiences, is when somebody is that out of touch with their actions, and they're that out of touch with their reality of who they are and how they present and what they do, they are very difficult to deal with. Those are very difficult people to deal with, because when you tell them how you've experienced them, and when you tell them how they present to you, they don't get it. They don't even know how to understand it and get it, because they don't even fully recognize or even acknowledge or accept the fullness of who they are, the good, bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. That is why I always hone in on self-work, because if you do the work it takes to be your best self, or you do the work it takes to better understand yourself, then nothing presented in front of you is going to be a surprise to you. And so when people say things about you presenting a certain way that's less favorable to you, you're not going to get, distant or offensive or offended. You're going to kind of understand, because you take the time to do the work to understand that that's something that you're working on, or that's something that you need to work on. So she was very out of it, away from reality when it came to that. She was so far out of her reality that she didn't even know she had issues with her sons. Her sons had issues with her, but in her own reality that she constructed and created, she didn't even believe that her sons had issues with her. She was that far out of touch. A lot of things, it was almost very interesting. And like I said, Shay did the exact same thing. Shay distorted the reality. Shay saw in the mirror something she wanted to see what was in the mirror instead of actually what was in front of her in the mirror. And she really was not accepting the truth of what was. An interesting thing, like I said, Shay also had the animosities that her mom had for her, but Shay had them for her mom. So they were kind of the same person, just against each other, right? Common people fighting against each other. Shay's energy for her mom was more, she was the enemy and her dad was the more favorable one. And Miss Iyanla brought out an interesting point. You guys are here, but your father isn't here. If he was the one that was the nice one, that was the one of resolution, why isn't he here? He is a missing piece. Even if the parents aren't together anymore. My parents were divorced, but still, my father and my mother played both an instrumental role in my development, whether they were there fully or whether they were not there fully. And so it would have been interesting to see her father had come there to have that complete resolution of those problems. But Iyanla asked all kinds of questions about her father. Shay could not see the difference, and her brothers couldn't either. They perceived their dad to be a lot more loving and a lot more better than their mom. But I think what came from that, and I think Miss Iyanla tried to pull out the truth of that, is your mom was more present than your dad. So a lot of her bad behavior you saw in front of you. You know, she wasn't fully connected to be able to help you, but your dad wasn't always there full time. So you couldn't get the sense of who he was. She even pointed out to the brothers that your mom's relationship with your dad, how she perceived him, is a different relationship that you have with your dad and how you perceive them. She saw her man, her husband, her ex. You saw your father. And so those are completely different relationships, and they show up in different ways. And I always think it's toxic for a parent who is in a relationship, they get a divorce, and they have a bad situation as parents, to share that information with children, because it distorts children's reality of the other parent. And that's always a hard thing. My own personal example is a good example of that, to go back and heal. So that is a very interesting thing. The brothers felt as though their mom was hard. Their mom wasn't loving. She wasn't nurturing. She wasn't kind. She wasn't all of the things that we expect mothers to do. She kind of was like, if you got to grow up, because no son of mine is going to be a punk. You got to be tough. And she kind of gave them that tough love. And that is a very common conversation that happens all the time, in which especially in the black community. I can speak about my community. In the black community, a lot of black women, especially towards their sons, feel they have to be a little bit more tougher than your average mother in order to raise strong sons, especially in situations when the father isn't there to be that male figure or that male example. So the mother amps up her toughness on the boys in order to kind of fill that void. I don't know the fullness about it. Perhaps I'll do a video on it one day where I talk about that dynamic between sons and mothers within the black community and how that affects boys later on. Because as you saw in Shay's brothers, they didn't feel loved. But on the same time, they're mama's boys. And a lot of boys are. They're mama's boys. And so their feelings and the hurt and the pain and the things that they had, they didn't know how to fully express that to their mom, right? They didn't know because they didn't want to hurt her. So it's a very dynamic and very paradoxical in many ways relationship between a mother and a son in this type of scenario. Because on one hand, your mom's telling you to be tough and she's not giving you the nurturing that you feel and that you deserve as a child in your formative years. But on the same time, as a son, you have a nurturing care for your mother, the one who gave you birth, the woman who gave you birth. And so you kind of want to protect her and not let her know how she may have been hurting you in the past. That is something myself, once again, another example of something that I can totally relate to from my own personal experience. And this entire episode felt that way. There were even times where I was having tears in my eyes because I was feeling that this is exactly what I felt. This is exactly what I was going through. This is the exact dynamic that's happening in my family. And it was just a very, 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 very interesting thing. Now, of course, we know it got to some point that Shay lashed out on Iyanla because she felt like she didn't have her say so. Iyanla pulled the mother in, allowed the boys to express how they feel, and then pulled her out. Didn't give her a chance to retort, didn't give her a chance to comment back, didn't give her a chance to have any thoughts about it other than just let them process it in a safe space. And I appreciate Iyanla creating the safe space because that's very important to express emotions, and that's what coaches try to facilitate, a safe space so that you can fully and openly and honestly, authentically express your emotions. And so Iyanla put that out there, and she pulled the mother out, didn't give her a chance to retort, and told her, don't add to it. Just live with it. Just live with it, which was a good tactic. That was a good tool. But when she pulled Shay in for the exact same exercise, Shay had to have a retort. Shay had to have an answer back. She had to call, she had to tell them about themselves. She had to pop off. And in my personal opinion, Shay was acting very emotionally immature, right? That you got to go tick for tack. If you give me something, I give you something. It's this competitive nature. I'm not going to let you down me. I'm not going to let you put me down because I got to give you something back. When what she should have did is just received it for the moment. You're going to get your opportunity, let them have that, and move on. But that's not her character, and that's not who she's been on Love and Hip Hop, and it's not who she's been on Flavor of Love. She's been Shay Buckey because she gets bucked. She pops off. That's what she does. And so she couldn't do the process, and it was so sad that she wasn't able to get the full process because of her own personal flaw. Because what she did is she really fell right back into her personality defenses and what she uses as a way to not feel. Because a lot of people who are defensive, who are aggressive, who are angry, who lash out, they're not doing that because they're bad people. They're doing that because they don't know how to feel, right? They don't know how to feel, and they're sensitive, and they're guarded because they don't want that to be damaged any more than it's already been damaged. And Shay's obviously been damaged in many ways. So I wish that Shay had gone through the process. She spent a lot of time justifying why she had bad behavior. She wasn't interested in hearing an alternative way to deal with the problem, and I think that was the important thing. I think the like you look at the boys, and the boys were hearing things. It was like Iyanla was like, why didn't you address your mom? And Dr. Joe was like, because it doesn't feel natural. Her other son MJ was like, you don't ever want to go against your mom. They were authentic in how they felt about it and why they were responding the way that they were responding, and that they were trying to protect their mom and do whatever they need to do. But like I said, Shay wasn't emotionally mature enough to go through the process because she's always used to fighting her way through whatever and then walking away, right? I'm going to fight my way, I'm going to defend my honor, and then I'm going to walk away so that I don't look stupid. And then Iyanla said, but you are. You are. You're looking emotionally immature. You're looking emotionally stupid. You're looking as though you're not ready for the process and you're not willing to do the work. And so the family had to come together. And one thing that Iyanla pointed out that I thought was a big point, two things. One, she told Dr. Joe that if you're not authentic with your mother, you can't be authentic with your wife, possibly. It just doesn't happen. Because that's the woman that birthed you. That's the one you got the most respect for. And your wife is the woman that comes in and takes that position. So if you don't have the respect and the authenticity enough with your mother, you're not going to have with your wife. So I thought that was a big idea. And then the other big idea was that the family didn't say what they had to say. How many families are like that, where they don't even address things? They won't say directly if somebody hurts them or if somebody's acting out or acting in a way that is unproductive or unhealthy for the entire situation and that they experience somebody bad. They just rather not deal with them, myself included. Like I said, this was my experience in so many ways of my family sometimes and of my own personal experience that I've been working through, had to work through, continue to work through, and probably will always work through in some regards because the work is on me. So other people are going to continue to show up the way they show up, and if they're not doing the work, I can't force them. What is what is. And in the words of Byron Katie, trying to change what is like trying to get a cat to bark. It ain't happening, right? And so Shay and her, like I said, her brothers never addressed directly how she made them feel in any type of meaningful way. Instead of holding someone accountable, as Miss Iyanla said, they placed blame. And blame automatically gets a defense, right? Automatically gets a defense. There's a way to hold people accountable and not necessarily place blame. And really the only one who challenged Shay, according to her brothers, was her mother. And that's what made their relationship the level of contention that it was, because they were the same person fighting each other over the same brokenness that they had on the inside. And I thought Dr. Nieves, Dr. Nieves, the doctor, she's a psychologist. I actually follow her on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Hi, Dr. Nieves. She basically showed that Shay came there for the change, but then she displayed the same actions that she was trying to change, and she reverted back to her habitual pattern, who she consistently is, because, and I'll add this to the doctor's good words, that's her comfort zone. That's her protection. That's her defense. That's her shield. That is what she wears. Her armor is what she wears, and it's her personality, but it's really just her defending herself, because two things that I've noticed in the interactions between the family. She doesn't fully feel loved, so there got to be some sense of insecurities there. And two, she doesn't feel heard. And one of the most important things of any person is to feel heard. And so she doesn't feel heard. And I think at the end, when Iyanla put the plants there, where one plant, the doctor, the next plant in the middle, and then Shay's plant, which was withered, I think that was a good visual to show the mom, the siblings, and Shay specifically, this is how we understand where you are. Because the water and the attention and the nourishment and the love and the tenderness and the care and all the stuff that you needed to grow fully healthy, all of that was deposited into the oldest brother. And then what was left over from that was deposited into the youngest, the middle brother, the youngest brother. I think it's the youngest brother. And then because none of it was left over, not much of it was deposited on you. We have a little bit that was deposited in you. There were certain things that you did grow, but you didn't thrive and flourish like the first plant, or even somewhat like the second plant. So she gave a good point. She said Shay and her mother always tried to make the other person wrong, and that was their way of responding. And you're wrong. I'm not wrong. You're wrong. Pointing fingers, right? And she gave a good quote, and Iyanla liked it too. I liked it too. It said, "If you always feel wrong, you will always fight to be right. If you always feel wrong, you will always fight to be right." And that's when you get those tit for tat mentalities. That's when you get the back and forth. The if I do this, if you do this, I'm gonna do this. If you say that, I did this. If you say I did this, I'm gonna say you did that. And it goes back and forth, and nothing is ever resolved, right? No problem is ever resolved. And I think Miss Iyanla did. There was an intermediate moment in which she helped him work on his relationship a little bit with his wife, to try to hear her, to try to realize that he was leaving her isolated by herself, to take for the kids, to take care of the kids, to live an image. Because a lot of things I got with Dr. Joe, and Dr. Joe is me. You know, I can. Dr. Joe is Dr. Larry have a lot of similarities in that. When I was in my stuff, I was trying to live the facade of everything being okay, but I was in relationships in which I felt like Dr. Joe's wife, in which I was isolating myself and not really addressing my emotional state and my heart and my mental and my spiritual state. And so I was just going for the ride, and the ride was going, and I was the ride, right? I was the mechanism, I was the ride, I was the tool, I was being used in all kinds of ways, and didn't really get a sense of love that I felt I should get in the relationship. And that came from upbringing and a whole lot of other things. And so she worked with them on that in a very good way with those rubber bricks. I thought that was good. And then she had to deal with the family. And what I like about Iyanla is she's direct. I believe just in life in general, not just as a life coach, but I believe in life in general, you should be direct with how you feel about things and where you stand. Iyanla set that boundary with Shay, and she was not changing that boundary. She's like, because there has to be a consequence for what she did. Because Shay's behavior was pretty bad. She lashed out, she cursed her out, she went out, she popped off in an unnecessary way. And let me tell you something. I think Shay's a Libra. I think I looked it up one day. Shay's a Libra. So I know in her Libra mind, she tried to balance it out and tried to understand it from both perspectives. And if she didn't then, she definitely in her Libraism is going to later on. I even think I've seen a video of her where she responded to, she discussed it on her social media platform. She reached out to Neffy, who also was on Iyanla, but to me that was a bad move because Neffy is unaware, she's detached, so she's not going to give you full advice. And because she doesn't understand how to do the work internally, and she's not a balanced thinker, she's probably still mad at Miss Iyanla for the process, and the healing didn't come. But for her husband, it did. She got a divorce, and she said, I think I saw where she said Miss Iyanla's intervention made it worse. No, it made it better because that marriage was hostile, that marriage was toxic, and your husband needed his freedom because you were, doing too much towards him, and he wasn't good for you. And so actually, that was a success, even if it was a divorce. Sometimes that's the answer to a problematic relationship or marriage. So I know Shay's probably balancing and trying to figure out. And I think if she had just trusted the process and paid attention, she was actually being defended. That Ms. Iyanla says she's the most emotional, she's the most sensitive. So all of this stuff that you guys holding in, she demonstrates it outwardly, and Shay's my younger brother. He demonstrates all of the emotional stuff in the family externally, but she's hurting it. It's hurting her a lot. And because she's so sensitive and because she's so emotional, that's why. So she's acting it out. But y'all choose to look at her as that person instead of look at her from the heart and in the heart. Good. It was good all the way around. Like I said, I wish Shay had stayed for the process. I do hope she at least reaches out and apologizes to Mrs. Iyanla and kind of realize that, what I came here for, I didn't get. And I didn't get it not because of you. I got it not because of me. If she internally gets the help that she needs. I think I even saw her saying she may even go get therapy because she felt Miss Iyanla's tactics were too aggressive or too, whatever. So she's going to go to somebody else. Hopefully she does. And hopefully she does go and get the ability to be able to come back and not necessarily always point the finger. Looking internally, diving deeper and doing what she needs to do. I love this show. I love the show because as a life coach, it gives me tools and skills and possible things I can do, exercises. But it also helps me personally to question and to look into my own self and to grow and to look around my environment and look at the relationships that I have been building that I have been in. So I appreciate this show. I hate to see it's her last season, but she's been doing 10 years of this work. So I know it has to be a lot on her. And she also has businesses and stuff that also needs her attention, I'm sure. But that's Iyanla season 10, the premiere, episode 1. I'm going to do this every week and talk about the episode. It usually premiere the week of the new episode so that you can kind of get a take of where we are, and then maybe you can watch the episode that I'm talking about. And I highly recommend that you watch it. Tune it in on Iyanla Fix My Life plays on Saturdays. Once again, you can follow me at Dr. Larry Smith on Instagram, on Facebook, and soon to be fully on Twitter. So I'm going to have to put that out here too. And if you want to know more about my business, Live For You Coaching, if you want to know more about me, you can go to www.liveforyoucoaching.com. Follow me on social media. Subscribe, like, and comment on the videos. Share the videos. Do whatever you got to do. Let's build this community of positivity. And let's keep going. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. As I always say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. You're my family. And I honestly, when I say I look forward to seeing you in the next video, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.